Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
It's time for another episode of All Politics Are Local with your host, Barry D.
All right. Why, thank you, J-Bo Jones and Matthew McConaughey. It's time for another world-famous All Politics Are Local with Barry D.
That's pretty hard to believe.
Yeah, would you believe it's locally famous? I am broadcasting live from the 17th floor of the Westchester WCHE studios, located at 105 West Gay Street in the center of Chester County, Pennsylvania. And we are on the airwaves at 1520 AM, 95.3 FM, using the World Wide Web at 953wche.com. That World Wide Web. That means people in Guam can hate me too.
I'm so sorry.
Big shout out to Carmine's Pizza in the Village of Eagle in Upper Euclid Township. They had a small fire 5 months ago and finally reopened on Tuesday. So get in there and say hi to Joe, Maria, and the whole gang at the corner of Park and the Little Conestoga Roads. You know, I refused to eat a cheesesteak until they reopened, and thank God they did. I couldn't have held out much longer. Another shameless plug for a Chester County business. At the controls today, making the show run smoothly, is the one and only Eric Clambera, whose prowess at operating the boards is legendary in his own mind.
Oh, boy.
Now, everyone out there in the radio world, please do not call in. There is not enough time to take callers on this show. It's only an hour long. But you can send an email to me by using my email address, which is WCHE, Barry D, that's D-E-E, at gmail.com. And I promise I will respond.
Don't call me!
I dated her. Oh, Karen. I think the folks already got the message. So, what have I got today? I have my weekly commercial and 5 Minutes with Jack, but Carla from Chester County Ramblings is off. Then we have a candidate for the district justice spot out there in Parkesburg.
Excellent.
Yeah, it is excellent. You know, it's that time of the show where we step into that time machine and head back to where entertaining and funny commercials sometimes meant that people got made fun of. Not in a mean-spirited way, you know, just for fun. But now people get offended, and they want to sue and boycott, and those people take all the fun out of everything. So, you want to know why those people are that way? Yeah, I do too, but I'm no psychologist, so let's skip that. We'll go back about 25 years to share the fun in what once was, back when companies sold products, not messages of how you should think.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real men of genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Bass Plaque Maker.
Mr. Bass Plaque Maker.
Only a true artist like yourself can turn 5 pounds of dead fish into a work of art.
No fishy smell now.
In your capable hands, we know that our trout will never look trashy. Our crappie, never crappy.
Never crappy.
Thanks to you, we can say, I caught this bass. What have you ever done?
Tell me now.
So crack open an ice cold Bud Light, Mr. Bass Plaque Maker. Because while a trophy wife may grow old and wrinkled, a trophy bass can now remain forever young.
Forever young, forever.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
And, of course, my friend Jack, who I asked to come back on and do shows with me a while back, and he can talk about whatever he wants to talk about. It's time for 5 Minutes with Jack. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I can't complain as usual.
Excellent. That's what we work with, Barry. We go minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day.
That sounds like a Doobie Brothers song.
It should be.
Minute by minute. So what's Yamo Be There mean anyway?
You should know the answer to that.
I should know the ins and outs of that, but I just don't. So what do you got today?
Let's talk about a little losing, Barry, and this comes from,
Is this a big loser?
This is a big loser.
Okay, go ahead.
Something near and dear to our age group. We all remember MTV.
Remember when MTV used to play music? Yeah. And then they came out with a new logo, like, I don't know, 1990, and the big announcement was they were changing their logo. They were taking the T out of it, TV, and just going to make it into M, and the joke with me and all my friends was, well, you got rid of the music, so shouldn't it be TV and not M? because they got rid of all the music videos by the mid '90s. It was terrible. It became all reality shows. I mean, they were the father of the reality shows. And listen, this became famous. Never would have happened without MTV, right? Hold on, you ready? Here goes. I'm gonna hit it.
Oh, that ain't working. That's the way you do it. Get your money for nothing. Get your checks for free. We got to install microwave oven, custom kitchen delivery. We got to move these refrigerators. We got to move these color TVs.
Right? How about that
There
one?
you go, from Dire Straits.
Yep.
We all remember that.
Yeah. Mark Knopfler, legendary, right? So
Yes, that
what's
was iconic and way ahead of its time.
So speaking of way ahead of its time, so you're talking about being a big loser. Is it developing something new? What's going on?
No, they're gone. They're basically shutting their doors. They're shutting it down. It's gone after 4 decades.
4 decades, right? Wow.
And soon, no one will ever remember it because we'll be gone soon and no one will ever even remember MTV, Barry.
Yeah, you know it's funny. In my office, I play the Vivo channel. I play all 80s Vivo. And when people come in, they just stare at the screen. I'm like, hello. And they're like, man, this was the days when we used to. Somebody was just talking to me about it today. They were in my office. Like, remember we just watched video after video after video. And that was it. It was magical, right?
It was a time, Barry. It used to be before that. The hook was not just the new song, but it was the artwork on the album cover.
Oh, my God, yes.
That was part of it. And then that kind of faded. Now you had to do videos.
Right.
So you went from artwork on album covers, and some of them were absolutely spectacular. I know many of them are collector's items. But then there was a shift, and you had to do a music video. If you had a new song coming out, if you didn't have a video, you weren't going on the road. You weren't going to do live shows until you had a video. They kind of went hand in hand.
Well, and the video is very powerful. I mean, for example, let's skip ahead to Britney Spears. Britney Spears, her first song, "Baby Hit Me One More Time." You know, people heard that song, and it went up. I think it might have gotten to top, like number 10 or 11 or 12 or something. I forget the exact number. And then it started heading down the chart. And then her music video came out, getting out of school, wearing a Catholic school outfit with all the other girls dancing around. And immediately it turned around and went right to number 1. That was the power of the music video. Hall & Oates exploited MTV, and MTV exploited them. They did Christmas with Hall & Oates. They had things about Oates' mustache. They did everything they could with MTV, and that's what made Hall & Oates so popular and so famous. And that was a huge win to those guys. They knew what to do because the TV was the new medium to radio.
It certainly was. It was the new medium. It went from all audio to visual, and they had to augment together, and it exploded for a period of time. But now it's going into the historic time. It's gone.
You know, let me bounce off some old shows for MTV. Of course, it started August 1st, 1981. Was the first music video. The first music video, do you know what it was?
Something Killed the Radio Star, I think.
Video Killed the Radio Star.
That's what it was.
Yep. By the Buggles. The Buggles.
Gosh.
Yeah, Jeff Downs' band, the Buggles, which was not famous here. That song had been out for a while, and it never did anything. That became their one-hit wonder over here. They were much more popular over in England. And then Jeff Downs went on to form Asia. So that was it with John Wetton. Let me bounce some shows off you. MTV Saturday Night Live Concert. These are the early shows. Friday Night Video Fights. IRS Records presents The Cutting Edge. MTV Top 20 Video Countdown. Heavy Metal Mania. Dial MTV 120 Minutes. Friday Night Party Zone. Metal Shop. Metal Music Half Hour. Oh, here's a classic. Headbangers Ball. How about that one? Headbangers Ball. And that's a big one for you. Club MTV. Now, one of the big things with MTV was that there was a complaint. They played no black music. There were no black entertainers on there. That was 1981, 82. There were complaints about that. By 1988, they had Yo MTV Raps. Boy! So they had that classic MTV. Of course, then it branched off. There was VH1 or MTV2, all these different things. It was really a powerhouse. They covered the auditions for the New Monkeys, that Fox was going to do that show, the New Monkeys, and I tried out for it. And they were all over the place at the location where I was trying out. I was standing in line for the auditions, but I never got on camera for that. But I remember it very well, standing on the street all day long waiting for my,
Wait
60
just a
second
minute,
shot.
Barry. I think people in the audience would like to know, this is the first time hearing that you tried out for the Monkeys? What?
The New Monkeys. It was
The New Monkeys, of course.
Reboot of the show. They also had the New Munsters. They did several different. Fox, the new Fox channel was trying all sorts of different things. So yeah, so I drove up to New York City and tried out for it. I didn't get it. They asked what I played, and I said the radio. They didn't think that was funny. I thought it was hysterical.
Well, wait a minute. Did any of the original Monkeys play any instruments?
Oh yes, they all did. They were all actually musicians. That was a sticking point to the Monkeys, because they wanted to write their own songs, of which, by the way, Neil Diamond actually wrote songs for them, and that was part of the thing. The second year they were allowed to play their own musical instruments.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, but they were all musicians.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And I think during that time, Neil Diamond was writing songs for everybody.
He was. He was a very accomplished songwriter. There's somebody else, Carole King. I think she might have written a song for them, but I don't remember. Anyway, back to MTV. So MTV, they also had a hot air balloon. They had a special shaped hot air balloon. It was a big MTV with Beavis and Butthead. That was it. They also had the TV shows. They had Beavis and Butthead.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. I completely forgot about Beavis and Butthead, and they premiered, and they were weren't they exclusive on MTV for the longest time?
Oh yeah, they ran several years, 93 to 97. Then they tried again in 2011. It just didn't work. So unfortunately, and of course that fed off to become, there was Beavis and Butthead, and then the guy with the propane and propane accessories, he got his own show after that. What one was that? What was that called? I forget what that was called. He came out of that. There was animated series. There was of course there was MTV2. There was Nickelodeon, MTVU. There were international affiliates of all types of stuff. There was a crazy amount of stuff. It was a very powerful thing. And of course, it's all owned by Paramount. Wow, that's legendary. 40 years and they're going to be gone. I'm assuming what killed them was probably the internet. Because who has to sit around and wait for a video when you can just dial it in now, right?
Anytime you want, pull it up on your iPhone, you're ready to go.
Name one original VJ.
Kennedy.
Nope, Kennedy was the second batch.
The operative word there was original, wasn't it?
Original, yep.
Drawing a blank, Barry.
Martha Quinn.
There you go.
Martha Quinn was a nobody. There was only one person, only one VJ had radio talent. All the rest of them were nobodies.
They just brought them in. They were fillers.
Well, they all tried out for it, and they just liked something about them, and they got on. Had I known, I would have tried out for that. Well, I probably wouldn't have, because it actually started, and I was fairly young at the time. So, but you know what? Had I known, I probably would have gone up to New York and tried out for that. Actually, that would have been fun. That would have been really fun. We can also blame them for things like Teen Mom, Jersey Shore, RuPaul's Drag Race.
All the spawns of non-reality TV.
Oh my God, just terrible. I think for them it was just a shock value after a while. You know what I mean? I don't know, 40 years is a long run though, right?
Certainly is.
Jack, I appreciate it, and talk to you next week, brother.
Thanks, Barry.
We'll see you. All right, let's take a break, pay some bills, and come back with Roseanne Starkey, a candidate running for the position of District Justice in Parkesburg.
Barry D is back with All Politics Are Local.
All righty. Hey, as a follow-up to the last part, talking with Jack, specifically that's going to be Europe, UK for MTV. MTV here in the United States is safe for a while, but I'm going to tell you, that's going to all turn down after a bit. but they're bleeding, and time's just coming for that stuff, and it's unfortunate, but they've changed and the times change. I mean, we don't ride in Conestoga wagons anymore either. So there you go. Today's in-studio guest, Roseanne Starkey, is a candidate running for the position of District Justice in Parkesburg, and I'd like to welcome her to the show. Roseanne, I always have a theme song for my guests, so I hope you like this one.
I don't want no tears, I don't want no lies. Above all, I don't want no alibis. This judge is hip, and that ain't all. He'll give you time if you're big or small. Fall in line or this coat is neat. Peace, brother.
Uh-oh, here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Everybody knows that he's...
Well, I don't even know if you're old enough for that, Roseanne. That was Pigmeat Martin from 1968, and that was featured on Ronan Martin's Laugh-In, the variety show. That was Here Come the Judge. And then after that, they also, on that theme, Pontiac came out with a car called the Judge GTO. That was like their super high-performance GTO. So there you go. Your position, currently held by Nancy Gill, who I've been in front of, and previously held by her late husband, that was Robert Gill, who I've been in front of. Sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. You know, whatever. I'm just one of those guys that just can't give it up. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, that's wrong. I'm fighting it. I think Bob worked at Lucan Steel prior to winning that position, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. And between the two of them, I think they had a legacy of 30 years of a Gill holding the position?
Correct.
Which is pretty remarkable. It really is. Pretty much loved. And Nancy Gill, people didn't even challenge her. She was like, I guess I'm going to be judge again. Nobody's willing to come up against me. So that worked out pretty well for her. So welcome to the show. I think you're one of my 6 fans. So I'm very happy to have that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Not starting from a baby, by the way.
Okay. I went to Rutgers Law School, and before that I was a paralegal for several years, so my legal background is very diverse. I served as in-house counsel, also practiced on my own in general practice.
That's always fun.
Yes. It was nice, though. I was able to enjoy helping clients if I was able to, whatever law area of law they were coming in, if I was able to represent them to the best of my ability, which we're required to do as attorneys, then I took the case. So
Sure. So you were a paralegal first and finally said, yo, man, all these chumps out there, I'm going to become a lawyer too.
Basically, yeah. Not that they were chumps. I mean, I worked with very...
You never said that out loud. I know that.
I was mentored by some very good attorneys in Philadelphia when I was a paralegal.
There's a reason they're called Philadelphia attorneys.
Yeah,
That's
probably
right.
too well because they did a great job and they made it look so easy.
The Philadelphia attorneys are legendary across the country. That's what you always hear. I don't want any Philadelphia attorney coming in here because they're slick, man. They're slick. I know several of them. They're good.
They're very skilled. It's an art.
It is. It's an art, and they're the samurais of the sword. They really are. They could fillet a fish with that samurai sword. They're so good. They really are. So how long have you been practicing law? I mean, as a lawyer.
As a lawyer, over 20 years.
Wow. And that there's something interesting to that because the magistrate doesn't have to be a lawyer.
Correct.
That can be a guy that works at Lucan's.
Yes.
That becomes...
Or retired police officers.
Yeah. That happened up there in South Coventry. That he was a North Coventry police officer. So that happens quite often. Jim Charlie was the chief of police, I think, of Tredyffrin Township Police, and when he got out, he went and was served 2 terms, I think, in Thorndale. So they do have the skills there. The fear with the when the competition always comes in is like, oh, hey, he's a cop, he's going to favor the cops. My friend Stanley Scott, former Marine, he was a Euclid police officer. He was a sergeant there, and he was terrific. He was the fairest guy you could ever meet. I mean, I just adored him as I was in front of him. So didn't do well in front of him, lost on that ticket. And it was a friend of mine. He's like, Barry, you know you're eating this one, right?
Well, fairness is a key component of
the
being
key.
on the bench.
And you can't hold it personally.
Yes.
You know, I'm not looking for a favor. I'm looking for how the chips fall.
Yep,
you know?
and that's why they make the law, to follow it.
That's right.
And that's what judges are held accountable to do.
Bring your evidence. And if
Yes.
you don't bring your evidence, you got problems. That's the bottom line.
That's correct.
So why don't you tell the audience as a primer, what exactly does a magisterial district judge do?
So that question is very common. I get asked that going canvassing from voters, and given that it is the local seat for the area, and the decisions that the magistrate judge is making directly affects them, it's important for people to understand that it's a variety of matters that they oversee, but mostly traffic court, landlord-tenant matters, small claims under $12,000, and then for the preliminary hearings for criminal trials, they review the evidence, make sure that no rights were violated in collecting that evidence, and if everything is T's crossed, I's dotted, it goes up to common pleas court, which actually does the trial.
Mm-hmm. So they do the arraignments.
Yeah, sometimes the district judges will do the arraignments. It comes back and sentencing, and they will handle that in matters as well.
Yep. Been up in Honeybrook a number of times, but that's typically tenant stuff because I represent a company for, rentals, and so got to go in front of them. If you want to get the person out, you're evicting them. You got to do it, and I hate that. I got to tell you, Roseanne, I just hate doing evictions.
It is one of the hardest areas in landlord-tenant. I practiced in that area and represented clients on both sides of the aisle.
There are good people that just can't pay the bill.
Yep.
But, mortgages got to be paid and all that. And I got to take a deep breath before I go in and after I come out and decompress from it, because there are people that I really don't want to see have to get thrown out of their residence. That's an emotional one, and I'm talking about from on my side, and it has to be for yours. You have to look at it and go, yeah, I know you've got a bad deck of cards here. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, that's probably one of the hardest things that a district judge would need to do is in a situation like that, is the emotional component of those, and realizing the law is the law, but why have laws if we're not going to follow them?
There's a second layer to that, though, too. You're a neighbor. You're very close to the people that you're ruling on, right? You're right nearby. You're how many municipalities would you oversee in this district? There's
3 boroughs and 6 townships.
Okay.
So it's a large area, but a blessing for me to help me stay unbiased is I know people, but I don't know them. I practiced a lot in Delaware County, Lancaster County when I first started practicing. So Chester County, I didn't start doing some things till later in my practice, more during my solo years, because it was more effective to do things locally. But I have to say, I don't know as many people as other attorneys or maybe other neighbors because my practice.
Yeah. Sure, that makes sense. Makes sense. So when you started down in Delco, did you have to learn Delcoese? Like, did you have to go, yo, Your Honor, how you doing? Could I get a glass of water?
No, but I did have to know the courthouse rules. Each courthouse in Pennsylvania is different,
right?
Correct.
You're like, well, I filed this for Lancaster. Like, yeah, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
And the Prothy's like, that's not how it's happening.
So in Chester County, I practiced a lot in common pleas. I went to Westchester a lot. So civil procedure and district court, the procedures are very similar. But they all have them on their website, so you know what forms and everything.
Sure.
There is a commonality with all the courthouses. However, they just have little details that are different, and you got to make sure that you have to review them and double check them, and they can change from time to time as well.
It's a streak of independence, I think, in Pennsylvania of Pennsylvanians. Kind of being the start of the liberty in this area here. I just think that they like that difference. We're kind of the same but separate. They like to do things that way, and they just want their own little bit of independence. I think that's a Pennsylvania thing.
Yeah, I think it's part of the Commonwealth. That's why we're the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as opposed to the state.
A state, right.
And there's only a few Commonwealths like Massachusetts.
Yeah, so Virginia.
And Virginia.
Yeah, exactly.
And they tend to, I've actually had matters, estate administration matters that were in Virginia and Massachusetts that I had to deal with, ancillary probate, and a land that was located in different states. So it's interesting because they are similar to Pennsylvania, but then they have their different nuances.
Quirks, if you will. Yeah. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to get into my second question, but I just realized we're going to be close to a commercial break. So why don't we take that a little bit ahead of time? We'll come back so I don't have to split your answer to me.
Sounds good.
Barry D is back with All Politics Are Local.
All righty, we are back, and we are talking with Roseanne Starkey, and she is running for the district justice position in Parkesburg. Now, we've kind of laid out some of this stuff here about what it actually does. Now, the question I have is, why in the world do you want to do it? I mean, first you have to fight to get it, then half the people are going to love you and half the people are going to hate you because of decisions. I mean, why would you want that pack of misery? What's driving you to do this? Tell me.
Well, you're never going to have everyone like you, and
talk to me about that. Yeah, I know.
What judges do is complex. I mean, they follow the law just like attorneys will come in and argue their case for their client. A judge needs to review the law and review the evidence, like you mentioned before. You got to have your information to present in order to show that, okay, your claim is correct and you're being honest. So one of the reasons why I wanted to run for this position is it actually came up in a conversation. I had heard that Judge Gill was retiring. At the time, I was in a corporate position with a bank, and it was not very satisfying because I've always had the need to want to help the community. I served on the Avon Grove Charter School Board for 2 terms, had the position of president and vice president within those term years, and that is our future, is children. And nowadays, with keeping the community safe, that's in the hands of the judge who sits, and they can directly impact that, hopefully in all good ways, and most of all try to help children and teenagers realize that if they do make a mistake, it's one mistake, and they can turn that around. Nowadays there's programs open to them, there's resources. I think it's just a matter of knowing those resources and having people in their lives that can direct them in the right direction.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. That's one of those issues. Kids make mistakes. And Mark Wahlberg wanted to become like a deputy sheriff or something like that. He had a checkered background. He beat up some guy pretty bad. And in order for him to get past that, because of the record he had to go back to that guy and requested, would he forgive him and allow him to do that? And the guy went, "Not on your life ever will I forgive you for what you did to me." So, that stuff stays with you, right? And the thing is, that was his time, and he ended up changing what he did. And I mean, he's a good person. He does a lot of good things, and he's evolved and he's changed. one of the problems you see is making sure that if they did make a mistake, knowing the difference. Lou Mincarelli, who ran for common pleas judge twice, said to me one time, he goes, Barry, the difference is you have to know the guys that just kind of effed up and the guys that it's a habitual thing or you can tell they're problems. You have to know. You have to be able to identify that.
Correct.
You know, because if you send a kid down the wrong path on that, you're going to destroy their life, as demonstrated by the judges up in Lucerne County, who ended up going to jail for a long time because they were putting kids in these private prisons for extended sentences, and they were getting paid to do that, and it's terrible. And so, you know, I think that's great. You just have to know that. I love what you're saying there. It's so important. It's so important. The brain has not matured all the way. Kids do stupid things. It's just how bad they did.
Right. And it's also reading a teenager, or even for that matter, an adult person in the courtroom. As a practicing attorney, I did litigation, insurance defense litigation. And one of the things that you learn doing depositions and cross-examining and examining people on the stand is their body language, how they answer questions, and it becomes an art, almost, if I can put it that way. But it is an art
there's a
to
finesse
read people.
to it, sure.
Yeah, and so you learn certain mannerisms. You know when the evidence speaks for itself versus what the person is saying. So I think that's an important part of the job that a judge has, is to realize there are obviously, too, looking at a record, you might have a repeat criminal there, or you have someone who made a mistake and is truly repentant or remorse for making that mistake. And I think body language and just what they say and how they appear in court, showing if they're responsible and accountable for what they did, then that makes a big difference.
That's why I prefer my guests sitting across the table from me as opposed to phone calls. I like to see them, and I like to see their body language and just see how legitimate their answers are. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, so far she's doing really well.
Thank you.
So what qualities do you think are important to a district justice? I mean, other than what you're talking about there, I mean, obviously, I think we've covered a lot. Do you think there's anything else you can add into that?
Sure. Fairness is definitely a number one with being a district judge. Integrity is a must, and following the law. I think I had said earlier that, why have laws if they're not going to be followed? The legislative body creates the laws in Pennsylvania, and the judge's task is to follow those laws, and that's why they're there. So in order to have people in the community realize that the laws are important and they should abide by them, the judges need to follow them and make an example of why the law is there in the first place.
That's the difference between some countries and other countries. If you don't follow the rules, if you don't follow the laws, well, then you really have nothing. I mean, they're just paper. If you don't follow them, it's over, right? I mean, that's why some countries just devolved into the wastelands that they are, and we are still kind of doing okay here. And now, it's interesting. I think it's probably easier down at the magistrate level than it is the higher up you go. It tends to end up, the legislation from the benches is a real problem, and we're seeing it too much now in the higher up forms because of the political influence of which we're not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be on either party or any party. You're supposed to be neutral, right? And I think that it's getting so toxic out there between the two major parties now that they can't help but be influenced by this. And sometimes it's legislating from the bench, which I just don't like. I mean, that happening, and I like what you're saying.
Yeah, and that goes to separation of powers.
Right.
For district judges, of course, the areas that we hear and have, claimants come in, or like traffic tickets and everything, they're statutes.
Right.
And statutes is strict liability for the most part. I would find it rather odd if a magistrate judge started going by the wayside,
Right.
not following those statutes, because that's what they're there for. A lot of areas of law are being codified because of that. And like you said, the higher the court, especially the appellate courts, they more or less opine whether it's on a dissent or the actual decision that they make. So, which eventually, in Pennsylvania, we still have judge-made law, or not judge-made law, but judge decisions that eventually do become law because the legislature, but that's the bodies working together. But there's also the separation that they shouldn't just be saying, well, this is the law today before the legislative body looks at it and reviews it and actually passes a statute like that.
One of the ones that just sticks in my craw, and I've heard somebody try and defend it, and I find it indefensible, is that when the legislature drew up the election boundaries that they do every 10 years, last time around, I guess it was, when the legislature came up with it, the courts ruled against it and said, no, we don't want that. And then they said, we're not going to accept that. And the courts ended up adopting a different one. But the law is pretty specific. The legislature is the only body that can make those boundaries. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. Whichever party you are. Sorry, that's the way it is. But our court, our Supreme Court, decided, no, that's what we're going to do. And I was very irritated by that, and still am, as you can tell, because that was a while back.
Well, and that's stepping on the toes of the legislative body.
And so that's one of those things. But again, at your level, it's not so much like that. But I like your opinion and the way you talk about that. So you get a bunch of different people. You get all walks of life coming in there, and like all these different backgrounds. So your experience with what you've done so far in practicing law, talk about how that prepares you to face these challenges.
So when I was practicing, because I took a hiatus to run for this position, I basically took the client coming into my office where they were at. As we say in law, you take the client where they're at, everything that goes with them. As long as the area of practice, the only thing that made a difference is if it wasn't my specialty, like criminal law, I had dabbled in it, very traffic tickets, maybe some DUI, first time DUI that you can follow through, because it's a first time offense. It gets more complex the more offenses you have. So, but I didn't do a lot of criminal. So if I had a client come in, I would refer them to another attorney that I knew would be able to represent them better because they had more experience and better abilities in that area. But if it was a family law client or a real estate client or landlord-tenant matters, small claims contracts, stuff like that, I was able to represent them. And I don't ask, lawyers don't ask, well, what party are you affiliated with?
Sure.
What religion are you? What's your background?
It's a client you're representing.
It is a client that has an issue that needs help. Yes.
You're human. You're here.
Yes.
Got two legs.
Yep.
Even one leg.
And some clients had bigger issues than others, but there's always a way within the law to be able to help them.
Fantastic. So now you have to work really close with your staff. So what kind of and there's a good staff. I mean, I don't know how many are in the Parkesburg one at this point, but I'm going to speculate there's probably 3 or 4 people in that office that you have to work with, right? So,
sure.
Yeah. What's your management experience? What's your style like dealing with people for that?
So I've had experience. We have a family business, and so I not only had experience overseeing paralegals, but I've also had experience overseeing people that have helped with any task in the office, like filing or helping out with schedules with drivers because we distribute produce and mushrooms to restaurants. So given my diverse background, helping with the family business and working with other people, as long as they're responsible and they know their job and what they can do. And honestly, the people there in the office that work with Judge Gill now, they know more than me at this point because there's always nuances. I know the big picture. I know the process. I know from the attorney side going in what is expected. But the details and the nuances within that office, they know. So I'm sure, if elected, God willing, I'm elected, they will probably be teaching me some things that I did not know, which I'm more than open to and excited to learn. So
you're saying you don't use the bull in the china closet technique.
No.
You come in and go, okay, I'm going to feel my way around here and let them guide me.
Yes.
So it's kind of
because at this point they're more experts. They've been working there longer.
Right.
I don't believe in a hierarchy. It's a team, especially with the legal field. You have to have a team, and we all need to be on the same side and a page. And I need to understand why they do what they do in order to help me, basically make rules, and decisions from the bench.
Keep the flow.
Yes.
Yes. We're going to take a break. Got to pay some bills. We'll be back with more.
Barry D is back with All Politics Are Local.
All right, we are back with Roseanne Starkey running for district magistrate in the Parkesburg area. I always like to find out what kind of community service have you done?
I've been on the board at the charter school as a board member.
Yep.
Given that my kids were very small and I'm a mother of three.
I mean, that's big, by the way. The work that you have to do at the charter school, that's a lot of work. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I was there for 2 terms, so 8 years. So that was the majority of the community service.
That's a life sentence.
Previous community service, I had published several articles for IOLTA. When the IOLTA attorney accounts were coming out, I worked for NAPIL, which is the National Association of Public Interest Law, and I had an internship there. So a lot of my community service was in my earlier years through college and law school.
So for the listeners out there and the radio host that's a dummy, what is IOLTA?
IOLTA are attorney accounts that we have for clients that we attorneys are under an ethical obligation to keep the client funds separate from the general account firm for the attorneys, and this way that money is there and can only be used by an attorney once, like a filing fee or anything that comes up. But it's done because we have arrangements like retainers, and until you actually do the work, that is not your money. And IOLTA then gives the funds that the interest that's being utilized in those accounts, they're given to community programs, donations, and everything to give back and to help with also the pro bono program. That's how they have funds to help people when attorneys do pro bono. So it goes back to the Bar Association, and they utilize it in different ways. The details I'm not sure because like every program, it changes and grows over the years.
Always and evolution.
And I haven't touched anything with IOLTA since I stopped my solo practice. So it's probably changed, I'm sure. But the general premise of that fund was to go to help people in need.
Well, when you run for office, typically, as I said before, it's political. In your case, it can't be political. You're one of 2 different areas where you can cross-file, which means you can be on the Republican and the Democrat side, you and school board. And now, with that being said, there are substantial ethical constraints for your position especially. use of social media, participation in politics, verboten, really. And if you consider these limitations, and what would you have to change in your activities or practices if you become, district magistrate?
So first off, I've never been really political, and that's one of the reasons why I ran for. I was part of the Avon Grove Charter School board because it was a nonpartisan position.
You were Switzerland.
Honestly, that's what attracted me to judge position.
Sure.
So yeah, I am like Switzerland. Excuse me. Though I do believe it's important when right is right and wrong is wrong. So there's always, areas where a decision needs to be made. So, but as far as being non-political in my personal life and on social media, I generally have stuck to that. So I don't think I need to really change much. I've always been a big fan of ethics. I was always the attorney, and some paralegals know this who have worked with me, always kind of raising one eyebrow about the ethical rules, and if one person maybe went up to that boundary line. But so I've always been concerned about ethical boundaries and making sure that when I practice, I stayed within them. But I'm not portraying myself as somebody being perfect either.
Sure, nobody is.
No.
We're all human, right? I mean,
yes.
that's just the way it is. Of course, what's the old joke about how you fight your case if you're an attorney? If the law's with you, you fight the law. If the ethics is with you, fight the ethics. If neither one's with you, pound on the table and yell like hell. So
I don't know about that last one, but I like the first two.
So we're getting close to the end of the show, so that's kind of sad. But so I want to wrap this up by talking to you about just what else do you think you need to let the public know? I mean, obviously we've already covered your background and how you're prepared for this, because we've jumped around quite a bit on different things. One thing flows to another. And so tell the people, like, for example, what do you think the most difficult part's going to be of this job, and how you're prepared to overcome any of those challenges, and why you think you are the best person for the job? You got about 3 minutes.
I think the
Maybe
hardest
4.
thing about this job is probably knowing that there's probably going to be unintended consequences to decisions that are made.
Yes.
That's the most important thing about being a judge, that the decision that is made isn't always the most popular decision, but if it's within the law and you're following the law, especially the areas that the MDJ needs to cover, then you've basically done your job. The district judges are employees of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we have laws that are put into play by the legislative body, and our job is to basically rule in a fair and just manner what the law is, and that's not always going to be good for one party that shows up in the courtroom. So I think the hardest part is probably the unintended consequences, which I believe the legislative body and anyone that is making laws, there's no law that's perfect, but it is the law, and it keeps us safe. And I think we all want the same things. We all want to be able to sleep at night, not being concerned about having someone break into our house and threaten our lives. And so I think that's why it's really important. But at the same time, judges have a heavy burden because there are decisions that are made.
Do decisions on other people's futures.
Yes. You're dealing with real lives and real people.
Yeah,
and everyone deserves a chance unless they keep showing that they cannot be accountable or responsible for their own actions.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. It really is. In fact, I've spoken about this before. One of the biggest problems we have, since mental institutions have basically gone away for the most part, because people, by their own rights, because they have civil rights, cannot be institutionalized against their will, obviously. So they end up out on the street. and they can't run their own lives, they end up committing crimes, and they end up institutionalized in the worst kind of institution they can be, a jail. So, and that's a problem. That's something you have to deal with because you're dealing with people that have mental issues, too, that are going to be in front of you. And that's a tough one, man. I don't know that I could handle that.
Yeah, and as long as there's resources, which there are, I think we have more resources now. I think the sticking point to those resources, because they're out there, is getting someone to understand and realize that they need that resource. They need that help. And if they get the help, more than likely they can go out in society again and be a successful case of, okay, I've been rehabilitated. So that was always a big discussion in my philosophy courses in college, was rehabilitation and what needs to be done to help people. But it's also that person has to really accept that they need the help and take it, and that it's not a bad thing to ask for help and get help.
Absolutely. Roseanne, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Well, thank you
really
for having me. I had fun.
I did too.
Great.
I did too.
Thank you.
Well, we have reached the part in the show that people seem to like the most. The end. Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? I'd like to thank Jack from 5 Minutes with Jack, my in-studio guest, Roseanne Starkey, and, of course, Eric Clambera, my buddy, my sidekick, my producer, and the host of the morning show. I co-host with him Mondays and Wednesdays. You can catch Eric this weekend at the Westchester Chili Cook-Off, along with many of the WCHE radio station team. We're competing with a whole bunch of other people and delivering our special WCHE white chili to the public from noon until 4 this Sunday, October 19. Be sure to come out and check out the event and come and hang with us at our booth right in front of the radio station here at 105 West Gay Street. I heard Dr. Deb, Steve Foose, and that entertainment maven, Terry Heyman, will also be there. We'd take you up to the 17th floor for a tour of our spacious broadcasting studios, but the elevator's broken.
What? Oh, no.
Yeah, but be sure to join both Eric and me on the morning show on Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 to 10. We have news, weather, traffic reports, and we can talk about the local happenings. And then you can actually call in. Seriously, call in. Otherwise, we're talking to each other.
Really?
Yes, really. And ladies, Eric is available for both long-term and short-term relationships. And remember, if you want to date somebody with good looks and money, keep it moving.
You know better than that.
That's right. Stick with WCHE. There's lots of other shows you can catch here, plus a great music selection. And remember, we are 100% free. You can listen to all those other pay formats for hundreds of dollars each year and still not find out anything about what's going on in your local world.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and stop calling me Shirley. That's right. If you want to know what's happening around the county, hang out with us. And while you're at it, WCHE is just too good to keep to yourself. Give the generous gift of telling your friends and neighbors about us. And hey, if you like my show, take the time to send a nice note to WCHE at WCHE1520.com. If you don't like my show, send an email somewhere else. You know, some people say my show gives them anxiety. Well, you know what that means?
You're killing me, Smalls.
Yes, Smalls, you are killing me. And many thanks to that babe of local broadcasting, Donna Stahl, WCHE General Manager. 15 months and 3 weeks ago, she hired me with apprehension. By the way, I know that because she keeps a calendar every week about how long I've been here. So it's been 31 years since I was on radio when she hired me on. You know, I hadn't been behind the mic, and she really didn't know me at all. Luckily, I had two things going for me. One, she's a bad judge of character, and two, I bring in the ratings. Be sure to like and follow the WCHE Facebook page where you can hear interviews from the morning show, get special announcements, and a list of upcoming bar mitzvahs and gender reveal parties that you can crash. You can also see my updates and videos on both my Facebook page, which is WCHE, All Politics Are Local with Barry D, and my YouTube channel, which is All Politics Are Local with Barry D.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's right. Today's intro is solo work from KISS member Ace Frehley from 1978 called New York Groove. It hit number 13 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. By the way, Roseanne was just jamming to that when that came on. She was rocking it. But it hit number 4 in South Africa. So how's that, huh? Ace Frehley was the first founding member of KISS to pass away, which happened yesterday after a fall he took that caused a brain bleed. He died in Morristown, New Jersey at the age of 74. Final advice of the day, I'm rolling back to this chili cook-off. This weekend, get out and help a charity. The weather's going to be pristine on Sundays. Come out to the chili cook-off taking place right here on West Gay Street here in Westchester, noon till 4. It is hosted by Fiorenza's Food for Friends, also called the F4, a nonprofit organization that's taking unprecedented steps to eradicate hunger in America. proceeds from the event will benefit F4 by enabling them to make a positive impact on Chester County and beyond. General admission is just $10, and it gets you the ability to sample a bunch of chili, including WCHE's own recipe written by our in-house chef and host of Libby's Luncheonette, Libby Mills. It's authentic, all-American Southwest chili and is being made by some of the radio staff and volunteers. So get out there, enjoy the day, and help those in need to get the help. Let's close out today's show with the Westchester's WCHE Chili Cook-Off fight song, written and produced by the WCHE Jingle Department on the 10th floor of the WCHE corporate office building. That performing artist is our own DJ Jazzy Jam. I'm Barry D. For All Local Politics Are Local. Thanks for listening.
Westchester's Chili Cook-Off is back, and WCAE is on the attack. Out to make the best darn chili you find from Lancaster all the way to Philly. WCHE. We're 95.3, bringing home the chili. It'll be the best. Don't be silly. Check out our booth at 105 West Gay, dishing out the special white chili, pushing for the win in a big way. WCHE, you know it. WCHE, you know it.